12 games. That's how much time we have remaining in the NBA season. Most teams have about 12 games remaining this year before we get into the playoffs, and I am so freaking excited. We've all been waiting for this all year long, and it is finally about to happen. So I figured it's about time to give you my playoff predictions. What are going to be the teams who make it in, what teams are going to miss it, and what team is going to eventually end up winning the NBA championship. And before I get into this, let me just tell you, if any of you have a free playoff bracket that you could send me, it's like a playoff bracket maker, please send me the link in the description or in the comments. Holy cow, I spent so long looking for one online that's free, and I just can't find one that's any good, so I'm just going to be doing my best to make it with the editing tools I've got here. But if you have a proper playoff bracket that you can send me that's free to use, please send me the link in the comments, because it is very annoying that I cannot find one. Now, getting right into it. In the Eastern Conference, my seeding predictions are Sixers, Nets, Bucks, Knicks, Celtics, Hawks, Heat, and at the 8th seed, the Hornets. Those are going to be the top 8 seeds in the East in that order. The Sixers should have had the 1 seed locked up, but they absolutely crapped the bed this week against the Bucks and against the Suns. I know we weren't healthy, I know we had injuries, but my goodness did it still suck to lose all 4 games over the last week. Holy cow, guys. Get some frickin' wins. Come on, we had this. However, I still believe the Sixers, who have the easiest remaining schedule for the season, will manage to get just enough wins to beat the Nets in the race for the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Nets have injuries, the Sixers should be healthy from here on out, and the Nets have a much harder schedule. I think the Sixers are going to pull off getting the 1 seed. Meanwhile, in the West, my seeding predictions are the Jazz, Suns, Clippers, Nuggets, Lakers, Mavericks, Blazers, and the Warriors at the 8th seed. I think the Warriors are going to win the play-in, and they are going to manage to sneak into the 8th seed in the Western Conference. They have been on fire lately. Steph Curry is absolutely unstoppable, and I just can't see this team missing the playoffs. Sorry, Spurs. Sorry, Grizzlies, but Steph Curry is going to carry his bum-ass team to the playoffs this year, and I'm pretty excited because I'd love to see playoff Steph Curry. Now, getting into the actual series, let's start with the first round in the Eastern Conference. For the 1 seed versus the 8 seed, I have the Sixers beating the Charlotte Hornets in 5 games. I'd like to say a sweep, but I've met this team. I know they tend to take their foot off the gas once in a while, and I think this is probably going to be a 5-game series. LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, one of those guys, probably Terry Rozier actually, because he tends to play really well against us. One of those guys is going to go off in one of these games. They're going to need a clutch win, but overall, it's going to be a very easy series for the Philadelphia 76ers. In the 2 versus the 7 seed, I have the Nets beating the Miami Heat in 5 games. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this. If you're a Heat fan, you might be thinking, here's another guy sleeping on the Miami Heat. They're underrating us just like they underrated us last year. We're going to make the finals again. Blah, 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 blah. No, you're not. Look, I could see a world where the Miami Heat upset the Brooklyn Nets, alright? And Brooklyn Nets fans right now, that's the other side, they're probably like, you think we go 6 games against this bum-ass Heat team? No way, this is a sweep, then we're gonna sweep the next round, and the next round, and the finals, because we're unstoppable. Get over yourselves, your team is not actually that good. Calm the hell down. This series could go 7 games. It could even end up being a win for the Heat. It also could go as low as 5 games in my opinion. The Heat have been extremely inconsistent this season. However, when they are playing fully healthy, they do have the pieces to give the Nets some slight issues. Bam Adebayo is very switchable. Jimmy Butler and Oladipo at their peak are both very, very good defensive players. They have an elite coach, and this is a team with playoff experience. The Nets veterans have playoff experience, but the rest of their team is a whole bunch of scrubs, okay? The Heat could give this team issues, and if I see a first-round upset in any series, this is the one that I'm predicting it. However, I just can't see the Heat beating the Nets. They've been all over the place this year. I don't think they managed to pull it off. For the 3 versus the 6 seed, I have the Bucks facing the Hawks. I see a 5-game series for the Bucks. Assuming everyone is healthy, assuming Trae Young is fully healthy by then, they're going to give the Bucks some slight issues just because they are such a ridiculously good offensive team and the Bucks don't defend three-pointers particularly well. However, the Bucks are just so much better than the Hawks. They're way more experienced. They have way more defense, and the Hawks have nobody to slow down Giannis. What are they going to do? Throw Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, John Collins in front of him? Clint Capella is a good rim protector, but he's not good enough to defend the Bucks inside all on his own. The Hawks just do not have the defense. I predict a 5-game series. Finally, the 4 seed versus the 5 seed, the Knicks versus the Celtics. Sorry, can't talk. Now, I would love to say that the Celtics lose in the first round of the New York Knicks. Could you imagine anything funnier? I, as a Sixers fan, could not. However, I do believe the Celtics are going to pull this one out in 6 or 7 games. At the end of the day, talent just wins out. And even though the Celtics have had their issues all season, they're simply a more talented team. Julius Randle is the only All-Star level player on the Knicks, and when Kemba Walker is playing well, the Celtics have 3 All-Star level players. At the very least, they have 2 of them. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are good enough defensively to give Julius Randle some mild issues at the very least. They have a great coach in Brad Stevens. I just don't see them losing to the New York Knicks. This is a very young team, they're an up-and-coming team, and maybe they get further than this in the future. Knicks fans, this is a great season for you. Do not be too upset losing in the first round here. I'm very impressed. No one saw this season coming from the Knicks, but they are losing in the first round. Next up, in the Western Conference, Jazz vs. Warriors. Could you imagine if Steph Curry pulled off an upset here and made it past the first round with this team? There's no way in hell it's going to happen, and because of that, I have them losing in 5 games, but man, would it be crazy. The Suns versus the Blazers in the first round. This is a weird series. You get 2 very, very talented offensive teams who don't have a lot of defense. The difference is the Suns have a better coach. They have better playoff leadership in Chris Paul compared to Damian Lillard, who has a tendency to underperform in the playoffs. I think Chris Paul will give him some issues. And they're just a better team overall this season. The Blazers have been all over the place since they got their stars back. Everyone thought they were going to be great. I thought they might be contending for a top 4 seed, but they've just been terrible since they got CJ McCollum back. I have no idea why. I think this is a 6-game series, maybe an upset. Like, I could see a world where this is an upset, but I just don't see it happening. I think the Suns are younger, they're hungrier, they want this more, and they're better prepared for the playoffs this season. Suns in 6. Clippers, Mavs, basically the exact same thing as last year, but with different seeding. I think the Clippers win in 6. Yes, the Mavs have Porzingis this time, assuming he's actually healthy, which he rarely is, but the Clippers have also improved. This is a 6-game series. Sorry, I just haven't seen nearly enough from the Mavs to tell me that they're going to beat the Clippers. Lastly, Nuggets versus Lakers. Man, do I wish Jamal Murray was still healthy. Could you imagine? This could be an upset for the Nuggets. It really could, with a healthy Jamal Murray. But as it is, with him injured, I gotta say Lakers in 5, and that kills me because I am a big fan of the Nuggets. They had the potential to go so far. They got so much better. But I just can't see them beating the Lakers without their second best player and their best playoff performer, because the man goes off in the playoffs every season. He could have been a huge factor in the Nuggets making it a legit title run. Instead, I think they're going to lose in 5 games in the first round, but watch out for them next year. If they're healthy next year with this core, next year could be a finals run for the Denver Nuggets. No cap. This team could win a title next season. Keep watching for them. Moving on to the second round series, Sixers versus Celtics, the revenge series for the 76ers. And man, oh man, would I love to see the Sixers sweep the Boston Celtics in the second round. How amazing would that be after all the shit talking from last year as a Sixers fan to sweep the Celtics after getting swept the year before? Oh my goodness, it would be the greatest revenge in history. I would cry. It would be storybook. It would be beautiful. I'd love it. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. Despite sweeping them in the regular season, the Celtics tend to be a little bit better in the playoffs. Brad Stevens is a very good coach. I think the Celtics will win one game against the Sixers. Sixers in 5. Unfortunately, would love a sweep, but Sixers in only 5 games instead of 6 against those goddamn Celtics. Nets versus Bucks in the second round. This is going to be a hot take. This is a take that most people are not going to agree with, but I really believe that the Bucks are going to win this series in 6 or 7 games. Call me crazy, I know everyone already is, and I'm saying 6 or 7 because the Nets definitely could win this series. Okay, Mike Budenholzer could choke Dick in the playoffs once again. He could be terrible and the Bucks could lose. But looking at these two teams, the Bucks should win this series. They have a very good defensive squad. All right, they got Holiday, Middleton, Giannis, Lopez in the post. They can do a very good job. Not a great job, mind you, like the Sixers and Clippers can, but a very good job defending the Brooklyn Nets. Now, they're not going to hold them to less than 130 points a game, but the thing is, the Nets have no one to stop Giannis. I could see a world where they win this simply because they do something really obvious to do, like they just do something like crazy, and Budenholzer doesn't make a single adjustment, and the Bucks choke this. But looking at the two teams, the Nets only play on one end of the floor. The Bucks are a great team on both ends. I really think they are going to beat the Nets in 6 or 7 games and go to the Eastern Conference Finals. This year is going to be disappointing for the Nets. You're looking at a team that doesn't play defense. You're looking at a team that does not have depth, and you are looking at a team that does not have chemistry. If all 3 stars had played the whole season together, I would probably take the Brooklyn Nets in this, if I'm being honest. As much as I don't like to admit that, as much as I don't like the Nets, I would take them. But their 3 stars have played 7 games together, guys. 7! That lack of chemistry is going to be a problem in the playoffs, and I just don't think they can overcome this. So because of that, I am taking the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Brooklyn Nets. Now moving on to the Western Conference, we have the Jazz versus the Lakers in the semifinals, and I think that the Los Angeles Lakers are going to win this in 6 games. Anthony Davis is going to abuse Rudy Gobert. They have no one to stop LeBron despite their very good defense. However, the Jazz are a deeper team. They're a better constructed overall team, and they've been healthy this entire season, so I do believe they will steal 2 games, but at the end of the day, Rudy Gobert is a playoff liability. He can't defend an Anthony Davis whatsoever, and the Jazz just don't have that superstar player. The Lakers have 2 superstars. The Jazz have none. Donovan Mitchell is an all-star level player. Conley is an all-star level player. Gobert is an all-star level player. They do not have superstar talent, and that is really, really important if you want to get past the second round in the playoffs, especially against a team with the best duo in the entire NBA. So I am taking the Lakers in 6 games. Meanwhile, the Clippers and the Suns will play each other in the second round, and very similar to the Clippers versus the Mavs, I think the Clippers are going to win this in 6 games. If the Clippers choke, if Paul George plays like ass, maybe the Suns have some kind of upset, but right now, I think we're going to see the Battle of LA that everyone has been waiting for. Clippers, Lakers, Conference Finals. Let's frickin' go. And I'm going to hold off in the Eastern Conference for a second and talk about the Battle of LA because it's so frickin' hype. I think that the Lakers are going to win in 7 games. It's going to be a nail-biter series. The Clippers have an amazing defense. The Lakers have an amazing defense. The Clippers have an amazing offense. The Lakers, when healthy, have an amazing offense. This is an incredible series, but at the end of the day, Paul George is a playoff choker. That is the decider for me. He's going to choke in that big Game 7. I'm calling it right now. He's going to choke. He's going to play like ass. And the Lakers are going to win this series in 7 games. It is going to be a playoff series for the ages. People are going to find some way to blame Kawhi because they always do. No. It's going to be on Paul George. Kawhi Leonard's going to play great in this series, but it's just not going to be enough. And the Lakers are going back to the NBA Finals. Now, in the Eastern Conference Finals, we have a series that is very, very difficult for me. This is a very tough decision for me to make. I want the Sixers to win, and the Sixers actually do have the talent to win this series. I think they're good enough to beat the Milwaukee Bucks if everyone plays up to their standards. Unfortunately, Ben Simmons does not like to do that. The Milwaukee Bucks are a perfect matchup for the Philadelphia 76ers in terms of shutting down Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Now, you can't fully shut down Joel Embiid, to be fair, but you can definitely take Ben Simmons out of the equation by cramming the post with big bodies, aka Giannis, Brook Lopez, and frickin' Chris Middleton. Those guys can just play off Ben Simmons, leave him wide open, make him borderline useless in the playoffs, and I don't think he will play aggressive enough or well enough to make up for what a big detriment the Bucks are going to turn him into. Meanwhile, they can double Embiid. They play very, very good post defense with their large bodies. Like I said, Mike Budenholzer defends the post above all else. They've given Embiid issues in the past, and I think they're still going to double him constantly in this series. Now, it's still possible to win. The Sixers could win this. They could come out and they could just shoot lights out every single game. The Bucks do give up a lot of threes, but I just don't know if I trust this team to do that. And as much as it hurts me, as much as I want this team to win, and the worst part is, if the Nets won against the Bucks, I do believe the Sixers go to the finals. I'm just throwing it out there. I think the Sixers are a matchup nightmare for the Brooklyn Nets. So if it ends up with an Eastern Conference Finals of Nets versus Sixers, I fully believe the Sixers will make the finals. I'm just saying that now. But against the Nets, against the Bucks, I don't think my Sixers can pull it off. I think the Bucks are going to win in 6 or 7 games, and they are going to go to the NBA Finals to face the Los Angeles Lakers. And so here we are, NBA fans, the NBA Finals that people have been predicting ever since LeBron James went to the Los Angeles Lakers in the West and left the Eastern Conference under the reign, or the supposed reign, of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Bucks versus Lakers NBA Finals. Is this where Giannis finally gets his first ring, or is this where LeBron James wins his 5th title, probably his 5th MVP, and really, really makes his case against Michael Jordan harder than ever to argue against? In my opinion, the winner of the NBA Finals is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers in 6 games. That is my prediction. That's what I believe is going to happen. The Lakers have a great post-defense presence with LeBron, AD. Andre Drummond can even provide some value there. They are going to give the Bucks a very, very difficult time, and specifically Giannis. We have seen that Frank Vogel is an amazing defensive coach. He is going to do a great job building the wall to slow down Giannis. He's going to hurt their perimeter players. Everyone on the Bucks is going to have issues, as they generally do in the playoffs. The Lakers are just too damn good on defense, and meanwhile, the Bucks do also have the defense to give the Lakers some issues, but I don't think they have the ability to stop playoff LeBron James in the way that they have the ability to stop playoff Giannis. I don't think LeBron's going to be slowed down enough. Anthony Davis can take Brook Lopez out of the post with his shooting, and he played pretty well in the playoffs last year, even if I do think he's a little overrated. Giannis will give him some issues, and because of that, I believe that LeBron will once again be the Finals MVP. I think they're going to stick Giannis on AD, do their best to slow him down, and LeBron James is just going to carry this team. The role players for the Lakers have been good all year. I think the Lakers win the 2021 NBA title, and they repeat as back-to-back champions for the first time since Kobe Bryant in 2009 and 2010. It will be a very, very good series. It will be competitive, and there is definitely a world where the Bucks manage to upset the Lakers if Budenholzer really adjusts his scheme, and the Lakers have fallen off after LeBron and AD got injured. But my prediction right now is that the Lakers win this finals in 6 games. That is my 2021 playoff predictions. We will see in about 2.5 months how right or wrong I was. So keep checking back here, and we're gonna see if I'm right or not. I'm probably not, knowing me, but let's see what happens.